What's going on, Boosted Mob? So today I'm gonna do something pretty interesting for you guys. My boy brought over his Evora and we're gonna do a comparison video between my Evora 400 and his Evora. One thing you guys will probably find out during this video is how similar they really are, and then the differences that they did do may not be as dramatic as a difference and can probably be bought aftermarket wise, and you can still effectively have a great car from the Series 1. I think the price differences on the used market could be anywhere from 20 to 30 grand depending on which version of the Series 1 you get, which is pretty substantial. And for those who like to mod, that's very substantial. That's a lot of mods you can do on a car to effectively make a better version and still be able to save some change over the Evora 400. And the market on the S1s are definitely a little bit more flat and stable, so you kind of understand what your your profit loss or profit gain potentially could be there. So anyways, let's get right up into this. Alright guys, so with the Evora 400, I think you guys can immediately tell when you look at the Series 1 Evora is that the Evora has a very clean, unique Lotus design. When I look at the Series 1, all I see is Lotus DNA all over the car. I mean, it has the very signature and iconic front bumper with that kind of like smiley face like look. And when you look at the Evora 400, you can definitely see a more aggressive, more angular, kind of weirdly designed front bumper. It doesn't look, I guess, as Euro-esque as the traditional designers are for the Lotus family. But I think the biggest influence for why they did this bumper is because of the charge cool system that's required for the Evora 400 supercharger. Intercoolers and stuff for air to be able to allow for the charge cooling action to take place. The biggest driving factor difference between the two here. Other than that, honestly guys, I think the headlights are the same. I think the side markers are about the same. Other than I think the spacing and stuff for like the venting here is the same. Let me walk over to this one. But they use a different material. This has a mesh that's actually nicer. I actually prefer this mesh. It's cleaner than like the egg gray, very awkwardly looking mesh here. But I think if I were to take a wild guess, the reasoning for that is that this is rock proof, whereas I'm pretty sure a lot of people have talked about in the forums, this gets dented, chipped, and you gotta either pop the dents out, respray it, and stuff like that. So I think that's the biggest driving factor for the differences here. And other than that, I think the rest of the front is probably the same. One thing that's also different between the Evora 400 and the Series 1 Evora are these side mirrors here. I've talked about these mirrors a lot. These things are ugly. I don't know why they put these on the car. Well, we know why they put these on this car. We wish they didn't put it. These ones are way better. If I could, I would source these for the time being and put these on my car. I think the angular, smaller look is more fitting to the car than those big, bulky, Dumbo-looking mirrors over there. But we are hoping that Greg Race Parts brings out a better, sleeker, sexier version of the world. But other than that, I think from the A-pillar back, most of the side is the same. Other than the air intake here, the mesh on the air intake is also up front. Same kind of mesh as what's on the front that we kind of talked about. Probably the same reason why they moved the mesh on the Evora 400 was more so probably due to the rock chips and stuff that were happening. Another thing that's different on, I think what they kind of started on the Evora S model of the Series 1 was the black pack, which when you look down here, which is kind of controversial, the black pack kind of gives you that thing here, which you'll see on the Evora 400. I kind of in between whether or not I like the black pack because it shrinks the size of the car, whereas when you don't have it on there and it just makes it look a little more full on the road, whereas mine kind of looks like it's very far from that kind of perfect ground level height everyone chases. So when we walk over to the Evora 400, kind of as I just mentioned, you'll notice the black pack includes this matte seal down here. So as you said, it makes the car look like it starts up here rather than down here if you don't have the black pack. And then my mesh is further back inside the car versus instead on the Evora S, it's up here. But overall, the same dimensions of this air intake is the same, and it's doing the same purposes on both cars. We go around to the back. I think this is also where we'll see a pretty substantial difference between the two cars. Like they said, the front and rear bumper are two of the most noticeable differences between the Evora and Evora 400, as well as the interior, which we'll get to in a second. This also has that same fluid, round, air-flowing type design. It's not as angular and aggressive as the 400. So you'll see it does look fatter on the rear because of just how, I guess, bulbous and round it looks. And then you'll notice that the reverse lights are also integrated up here on the bumper versus when we go to the 400, you'll see this inner ring light is in a different spot. Another thing is the Evora Series 1 had a one-piece kind of spoiler versus the two-piece or three-piece one that's on the Evora 400. And then the diffuser is also a little bit of a different design. Yours is still the OEM design. I think a lot of the people usually changes for a diff flow diffuser, which gives that big GT4 racing type look, which I actually really do love when people do that. I think it really makes this car look very racy. And you have the dual canister in exhaust system. I think, is that standard? So I did not know that the standard original design was dual. I know a lot of them now are that oval single shape, which my car has over there. So let's walk back over between the two cars. So like I said, here's the three-piece wing that's different on this car. So a lot of people always say, if I were to take this wing out, could I swap it with some of the wings that the Evora had, such as the GT4 wing that's out there? But there is actually some indentation here which sets this piece down, because therefore you can't actually change this out unless you actually get that removed and repolished and all that jazz. But other than that, you can kind of see the bumper is definitely more angular. You have that more angular design coming in here. You got the sharp edges here. Reverse lights are down here. There's the singular exhaust system. A different diffuser setup definitely allows for more aero. And that's the difference between the Series 1 Evora and Evora 400 when we look at the cars from the exterior. I think Lotus mentioned that the 400 is 2/3 different than the Series 1. I kind of believe that might potentially be true, which you then can almost say the 400 name is essentially a different model of the Evora versus the Evora and Evora S, which was like the sports racer version, which I think introduced the original supercharger, and then the Evora 400 introduced a charge-cooled supercharger, and 2/3 different. I think you can see from the rear bumper, the front bumper, the mirrors, some of the changes with like the black pack, and then the biggest noticeable change is definitely when you open the car. I think the first huge difference is going to be when we go over to the Evora, you'll see this seal is way lower, which makes it a lot easier to get into. Still pretty thick, but a lot better to get in. The dashboard, so it's controversial for a lot of Lotus people because the original design flowed into the door, which really made it feel like a cockpit and really felt like you're like in like a spider jet or something like that, where this is a little more angular, a little more disjointed. It doesn't have that uniform look as on the Evora. They changed some of the, I guess they said they call this more high-end finishing. I still think that is not my favorite. I'm not a big polish fan, But I think the steering wheel's different.
Yes, flat bottom.
The navigation system and everything, that's kind of a little bit different. The way they kind of design the buttons and stuff for the park drive and all that, if you have the automatic version, which I know a lot of people hate, that's also different. And then the dashboard's a little bit cleaner, so when I actually get in this, so when I get in the other one, you can see my space that I have all around here. They gave you a lot more space. This car actually feels a lot bigger inside. When you get into the Evora Series 1, you feel a little bit more tight and a little more, I guess, if you're claustrophobic, you'll definitely get that in that car. But headroom's still beautiful. I think the interior doesn't look like a kit car. A lot of people always say Lotus, kit car in the same sentence. I think this interior still looks very well put together. Quality's nice, the stitching's great. There are some defects, there will always be defects with any car, and I'll leave that at that. So let me climb out, which, as you can see, is super easy to get in and out of this car. I think when people hear Lotus and they think, wow, that car has to be very tight, that's the Exige and the Elise. I think the Evoras did a very great job of still putting together a very small car, but still giving you a lot of space to be able to get in and out of. So let me go walk over to this one. So you'll immediately tell, I mean, also a very gorgeous interior. This thing looks very luxurious inside. This seal is massive. Same kind of height, I think. Actually, no, the seal is definitely brought down lower because I can see the height here, which is almost leveled with the seat. But the seal is also very wide, which leaves for a lot less space where your actual feet go when you're actually working the clutch, or if you have an automatic, you're braking your gas pedal. So I'm gonna climb in really quick.
Let the seat back.
So you can see it takes a little more work to get your foot over, but I don't really think getting into this car is that difficult. I actually can immediately notice now, this seat sits lower than the Sparko seat, and my visibility is beautiful. You're gonna notice that when you get in that one. This one, you feel like you're kind of like sitting like this in the Evora 400 and looking down. This, I feel like I am in a race car. This is awesome. I never noticed that. Everyone talked about it, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I believe that, but now I believe it. The seats in that car need to be changed. This is a beautiful seating position. I can already tell my foot is not in the best place. You almost gotta like angle your feet to be able to have space. I don't know where you put your foot. Like, is your foot always just kind of like this?
You leave it at home, yeah.
Man, if you have one leg, this is the car for you. No joke. But as I said, you'll notice you still get pretty good space, but it's more so when I close this door, you'll see this piece here that kind of creates that uniform design that I was talking about, would be like right here. So my legroom space would be a little minimal, but it's kind of cool because it's like you have an armrest here, which they don't really have oh, you have an armrest here too. Mm-hmm. Wow. So I don't even know if that car's more luxurious. I might take that back. This car might be more luxurious. You got an armrest still. You got an armrest here. This is actually like aluminum design, which is actually better than the plastic that they're actually using in my version. I think this is different in the Evora 400, a little more updated, but not by much. This is still using that Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance design for displaying images, no HD, high quality images coming through here. It's not a deal breaker, but it's noticeable. This is a little more integrated despite still being aftermarket, which actually does look cleaner. When you look at the way the Pioneer is in here, I'll show that in just a second. It fits in a little more clean. The dashboard feels a little more like they actually put a lot of work into designing this, where that was kind of like, let's quickly redesign it for the sake of space so that the Americans can enjoy it. But otherwise, I still feel like I'm in the same car, other than the seating position in this one is so much better. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot better. Getting out is a little trickier, but that's only because your foot has to go quite a ways. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The seat position is so different. You gotta go quickly hop in the Evora 400.
Around, you hit the trunk button. Over here, you can actually see.
Yeah, the button placement's a little more within arm's reach and kind of forward facing. That's a good point.
The vents are actually up here, which I think in my car, the way they're placed, it should be cooler. Up here in Texas heat, sun, they're gonna have to really be blowing out some serious air in order for you to feel it their way.
And you have a one that's on your door.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they vent the air through.
It actually there's a hole right here that comes through and it blows out right there. So you feel it. You feel it fine. You know, no worries at all.
Okay.
I actually feel like there's a little bit more of a room in the back.
I didn't look back there. I gotta do that again.
Yeah.
So how many? I have never seen a 2+0 version. I had to know what's really different.
It's a parcel shelf, and your seat goes back an extra ½ inch.
Ah, okay. But otherwise same effectively
thing.
the same.
Power door handle.
Okay.
The speakers are down here at the bottom. All that stuff's the same.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like they gave you more space in front, and in the rear, you lost.
Okay.
Over there you have more in the rear, because I actually have my daughter, she's 8.
Okay.
And my son, he's almost 3.
And they can fit in? Because ain't nobody fit back there. I mean, you gotta have absolutely no legs.
Like, all right, come on, man, let's go. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it.
So he's talking about the buttons that you kind of have up here. This centerpiece design.
So you have 1920s, I have 1819.
So there's the vent that he was talking about that feeds the air here. You can see the design, kind of a little similar, but definitely different. As he mentioned, you don't have the buttons that were up here. They're actually, to your point, they are kind of behind the steering wheel and out of sight, which might make it a little hard to know. You have to basically mesmerize where your bumpers, your guns are.
I cannot see them at all. Totally don't know where the buttons are at. I'm like, is this the door lock or this is that? I guess I always use the key.
Interesting. I didn't notice that.
Totally.
Same kind of design for the, I guess, the AC, but yours buttons look a little more aluminum-like versus the plastic buttons I have. And then once again, the door seal is huge. Oh my God! I just noticed that there's a cigarette.
Yeah, behind here. Yeah,
I never knew that.
Yeah, there's an extra. You don't have one?
I don't know. I've never looked. Oh man.
Yeah, that's probably different. And the fact that you can actually see that my son.
Oh yeah. So they definitely have a different sound. Similar, but different. It's very cool how different they sound.
Gotta focus on this car.
So I'm noticing you struggle with the same.
Yeah.
This thing is just a universal issue across the Evoras,
it's a
man.
handmade, hand-built car.
I get it. I have to turn the music off so I don't get.
Oh yeah.
Get told I gotta pay Faith Evans for my video.
She could probably use a check right now too. She's like, look, man, whatever you got, I'll take it right now.
Oh man.
I get it.
It doesn't feel slow.
It really is slow, but it doesn't feel slow as a standard. That's the only damn reason. Because if this was an automatic, I'd be like, come on, man. I just tell all the people, like, hey, man, nah.
So if you remember, what is the horsepower rating on the standard motor?
280.
280. So I did forget to mention, as I said, the Evora 400 is charge-cooled and supercharged. The standard motor, which they're using the same Camry block design motor, it's 280, 275 for horsepower and torque on the non-supercharged model, which is the one we're in right now. And then mine is 400 horsepower and 332 torque, so it's pretty substantial in terms of horsepower difference, about 120-ish. And then I got a couple other things in it, so it might almost be like 130, 135 horsepower difference, which should be noticeable. So we're gonna let them take it out, and we're gonna really see if it's an honest to goodness difference in power between the two cars. And then other than that, I think he did tell me there's no cup holders whatsoever in this car. So said the something in the piping was a little bit larger in the 400, which I guess changed the sound. But relatively, I think the 400, because even though I put the DCAT on the 400, it's still a stock exhaust system, because that's the way it came stock in Europe. And this is a stock exhaust. So you'll notice there's a substantial difference in sound between two stock setups. And eventually one day, hopefully I can hear one with headers. It is amazing how much speed you can take these cars into corners at.
Dude, I come through Hollyhock, come down Till, the roundabout, 70. I'll get a push when I come around the other side.
Yep.
But I'm like, the car's so damn stable, I don't even get nervous. I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah, it's incredible.
This is definitely a go-kart on wheels.
It's amazing to think that fundamentally the Evora is a car that was designed back a decade ago. And it can still compete with cars being designed today. That's good chassis engineering for you.
Insane.
A lot of cars, like a lot of people get so fascinated by pure numbers on the racetrack and this, that, and the other. But you gotta think, these cars are getting muscled through. Like the power is carrying those cars through these tracks. Then you got an Evora, which I'm sure if a novice drove both cars, they wouldn't get the times that Randy Pops is getting on a lightning lap between the two cars. Oh, you can turn here. Yep. And that's one thing I keep, get a little slide happy there. That is the one thing I keep saying is, from a novice perspective, this car is so much more capable than some of these other cars that might have faster times than that. But those things are frightening.
This car can actually teach you how to drive.
Absolutely.
Crazy part about it is, with a car that sits so low, totally a sports car.
Yep.
Fucking ride something, dude.
Right.
I'm comfortable.
I know.
I'm fine. I'm not like worn out, none of that shit. I'm cool.
It is incredible.
Where's your red line?
7,000. Definitely a different sound.
Oh yeah, it's quiet as shit.
This car needs an exhaust.
But this is there you go. But see, it's factory, so I put the plaque on here, and then you're like,
oh my goodness, you gotta get the plaque.
Yeah,
it's not even that. Yeah, I was gonna say it's pretty.
Yeah, it's not that cheap. I was just trying to find a good shop that could do it, but then
hell, you might be able to find a shop that can just weld up their own plaque for like 100. It's just a straight pipe, right?
From the second cat.
You're just gonna have the flange set up to set up to the other one, and then a mounting point.
Well, Mike has one with the red Evora. He has a plaque on his, so. We have to put it in gear.
He doesn't know how to use an automatic, guys. Who knew driving an automatic could be so hard?
Weirdest crazy part about it is we live a mile away from each other. Both have BMW and Lotus.
I know.
It's the craziest shit.
What are the odds?
Yeah. Which way?
Oh, we can go right out the same way. And
Make sure you don't get your bumper. Okay.
so this is your first time driving a 400?
Yes.
All right, so we just went out in Chester's Evora. This is his first time in a 400. We're gonna find out if it does drive different, if it does feel a little bit faster. We gotta wait for it to warm up first, and then we'll let them get on it. So I guess we'll jump on 380 first. So I can tell it's like different sound. I think yours has like more sound deadening in the exhaust area. I don't know, or the exhaust is just that quiet, relatively. Like I feel like it listens a little more burbly on.
Well, it's a standard, so. I think maybe. No, I can hear your exhaust a lot more than I can hear mine. Oh shit, you ain't lying.
It's pretty shitty.
And you ain't lying.
I don't know why they keep designing these like terrible dips.
You got a Porsche? Yes, ain't doing that over here.
Oh man, you got a Lambo, you ain't doing that over there either.
I can feel, I'm only doing 80 right now, but I can feel like a 25% difference.
I said, it doesn't feel that noticeable. Like when I went in a car and they had 100 horsepower difference, like it was like, oh shit. I didn't feel that. But it must be like this power is so linear and probably way up top.
Let's see.
I think we're just gonna put it in we're also still in eco mode, which holds back some of the power. So I put it in sport. And now if you want to use the paddle, you can do the paddles.
Now I can hear the exhaust a lot better. It's really close.
Okay.
close.
Steering, handling, all that. Because I think we're on different shocks, but
Steering, I can't tell yet. There's a state trooper passing by, so I didn't want to. Nah, you're tighter.
okay.
Tighter. But as far as input, yeah, tighter. Straight up tighter. But it could be the Michelin's too.
Yep.
It could be the sports.
Yep.
Let me see about reaction time. Yeah, and there's the top right there.
Oh boy.
Yeah, exactly.
May not be our best day, but we'll see.
Well, he hadn't started
Let's
moving,
see if he's
so.
feeling generous today. I don't know if he actually saw us, but he probably heard us.
Yeah, we'll tell him we're going to get our medicine. He didn't want us to
We were trying to outrun the corona, Your Honor. Oh man.
You might not want us to cough on him. He's still,
Yeah, I guess we're safe when you
Yeah.
look at that. That's usually why I go to the B roads.
Okay, gotcha. I got you.
I think maybe we can turn right up here, and I think that
Have you
might.
ever seen these houses back here?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, they got some gated community back here. That's pretty nice. Hills too, you know.
Huh.
But you know what? Mine, like I said, it has that three light thing.
Yeah.
It'll show you.
Now, in terms of Evora versus Evora 400 and that 30,000 potential price difference that we talked about,
Hell no.
I mean, I would agree. I already said my 2 cents on that.
12 grand. I'm in all day long.
Yep. I don't think it's, looking back and knowing what I know now, I would recommend people, if you're gonna buy used, which you should be, get the Evora S, and just mod the car. These cars, I feel like, have enough mods out there to really make it more unique, and that'll set the car apart than just buying it off the shelf. There's a lot of different suspension setups you can get that we didn't get here, like the Öhlins. We don't have the Öhlins set up on the cars in the USA. There's a lot of carbon out there, not active Aero, but there's a lot of Aero you can get on these cars. Spend your money on those things. So one thing that sucks with the first gear,
Okay.
because I haven't got my transmission retuned since that issue, if you don't shift before it hits red line, it'll hold the gear as a safety mechanism, which sucks.
Okay.
Because then you won't be able to shift for that until you let off.
So you have to remember that. So you
Yeah, you have to know the sound of right before you have to shift on first gear. Apparently there's a tune, but ever since coronavirus happened, I haven't ventured to downtown and to drop it off down there. And well, it looks like we found a road closure.
See what kind of car it is. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Damn, you put no miles in your car since you got it on.
I know. It's a shame. It really
It
is.
seems like you have though.
It feels like I've gone a lot of places, but I haven't put that many miles on it. And I'm on a year now. I'm exactly on
March.
a year.
Yeah,
Yep.
March. Yeah,
which is also crazy. It doesn't feel like I've owned this.
It does look good. It's fucking crazy. It's like
Crazy because you don't see too many Evoras on the road often. Just pull it up and seeing yours parked there. It has such a nice profile.